Their defense is a joke.
What it really comes down to is I would love to have either of them.
They don't have a prayer in their secondary. They have nothing.
So you're saying just don't draft Blunt?
I'm saying don't draft Blunt.
He was unbelievably efficient last year.
You know that they use their running backs in the passing game a ton.
I'm drafting him tonight.
That's Team Huevos. Huevos gigantes.
Hey everyone, welcome into the FantasyPros Football Podcast. I'm Bobby Sylvester, joined as always by Mike Tagliere. It's time for our Week 7 Start or Sit show. And we're going to be doing this on YouTube as well at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/fantasypros. We're on Twitter, at BobbyFantasyPro and at Mike Tagliere NFL. Same handles on Instagram as well. Tags, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, dude. I feel reinvigorated. I don't know if that's the word I should be using to describe this, but I don't know if you know this about me, Bobby, but I was like a huge car buff back in the day. I can't really work on cars like I used to, but I built like a lot of Mustangs. I've owned like 11 Mustangs in my life, and I might be buying a Mustang here shortly, like an older one. So if you're listening, I'm a Fox body guy. It's like the 87 and 93 body. But I'm excited. It's like I'm a kid that's like looking forward to, because my wife kind of said, you want to go look at these, you can go do that. And so I've gotten the approval, and I'm trying to find one now.
I'm happy for you, man. And you should be happy for me because I'm reinvigorated too, because I'm going to a pizza buffet right after we record this. That's like my happy zone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd be happy there as well.
Same thing.
But yeah, cheat days are for Sundays now.
Hey, by the way, I thought you were going to be like really mad at me about what happened on our live stream yesterday. We're going to get into the football in just a second, but I figured Tags would need to get this off his chest.
No, I mean, for those of you who missed it on the live stream, you can go back on our YouTube channel. I believe that it's up there now, where I lived up to my end of the bet. You know, Bobby and I made a bet last week about, you know, it was a dessert bet where we basically had to pour a dessert or push it in our face, depending on what it was, right? I had a chocolate shake that I lived up to it because Bobby and I tied, and we said nobody was the clear-cut winner, so therefore the audience wins. I dumped a shake on my head, did it on video. We put it on the live stream, and Bobby's video played after mine. Bobby didn't do anything. And
hold on. It was ruled that there was a tiebreaker.
No.
You guys all remember this exact show last week with Joe Pisapia. We did a really horrible bet on crummy tight ends. Tags had Rhett Ellison. Pisapia had Ryan Izzo. I had Jordan Akins, and I won. That was the tiebreaker.
No, the tiebreaker you came up with. You're the one who sent that over.
It doesn't matter. It was agreed upon by the judge.
Oh, no.
If it was agreed, I tried to come up with something, but you didn't. I beat you, and you had to have chocolate shake on your head, and I won.
No, you see,
no excuses.
If it was agreed beforehand, I would have never bet on Rhett Ellison. Never.
Okay, that's fair.
Not even Rhett Ellison. Who the hell? I don't even know who I bet on anymore. It's been so long.
It was Rhett Ellison, but here's what it comes down to. You lost. I ran a poll and asked, hey, was this shady or whatever? There were like 4 people who were like, oh, Bobby, you're a scumbag. Everyone else was like, yeah, you're right, man. You won. Tags needs to deal with it.
You did not win.
All right, so let's talk some fantasy football. As always, with these start sit shows, what we're going to do is we're going to be running through the positions one at a time and not talking about players that are obvious starts. Like, obviously, you're playing Josh Jacobs against Green Bay. Nobody's asking about that. We're going to talk about the players a lot of people are asking about. So, like in the running back range, we'll be talking RB 18 to RB 30-ish. Wide receiver range, 25 to 45-ish. And then we'll do tight ends, quarterbacks, DST as well. So Tags, let's get right into it at the running back position. And I want to ask about Carlos Hyde because he feels like the kind of player that you never really want to start. Is he becoming a must start every week? He gets Indianapolis this week after going for 26 carries, 116 yards last week, 21 carries against Atlanta. Is this just the new norm?
I would say, yeah. I think we kind of have to. He fumbled in the beginning of the game in each of the last 2 games. Actually, it was the first play, I think, in week 5, and then he fumbled on the first drive in week 6. But they kept going back to him, so it's hard for me to say that they kind of view him as the Lamar Miller of the offense, and then they have Duke Johnson playing like the Alfred Blue role. And that's not very good for Duke Johnson owners. But fortunately for Carlos Hyde, this offense is moving the ball. There's a lot of receiving threats, so he's not going to see stacked boxes. Deshaun Watson has been protected a little bit more, so that offensive line has been getting better. So there's really, I think you kind of have to trust him when he's getting the opportunity that he is, 15 plus carries per game. That's no small workload in a high scoring offense. Now, the matchup against Indianapolis this week is not a great one because
Darius Leonard's back.
Yeah, Darius Leonard is back for the team. There's been 21 games now under the new regime there in Indianapolis, and they have yet to allow a 100-yard rusher against them. And knowing that Carlos Hyde is not very involved in the passing game, this is kind of like a touchdown or bust game. I mean, otherwise you're probably going to walk away with maybe like 6-7 fantasy points, which is not great.
I would agree with that. And that's the reason I asked, is because, like, I get it. Carlos Hyde has the Lamar Miller role, and frankly, he's running the ball a lot more than Lamar Miller ever did. But he's ECR. And when I say ECR, that's expert consensus rankings. So we've got 100 analysts across the industry who send their rankings to us for the accuracy competition. And we mash them all together and say, this is what the industry as a whole recommends. Carlos Hyde's sitting at 22 right now. I don't have him that high, Tags.
I have Carlos Hyde at 25 right now. My rankings, I'm still going through them and updating things as I go through and research all these games. But as of now, I have him at 25 as like an RB3, a high-end RB3, because there are 4 teams on bye. In a normal week, I would consider him like a middling RB4, maybe low-end or middling RB3, maybe low-end RB3. I was going to say, man. But yeah, no, he's someone that is definitely startable. Like if you're choosing between him and someone like Jamal Williams, I would go with Carlos Hyde.
I would go with Carlos Hyde too, but like, what about James White against the Jets, or LeSean McCoy, who's the clear starter for Kansas City now?
James White he's a must play for me.
Me too.
He's
ECR 27. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either. Like when you break down things and kind of like look at the workload that running backs get. So this is something I've been working on recently, and running backs, what happens? Every target in a PPR format counts as 2.3 carries essentially. So when you look at James White and see that he's gotten 9 targets in each of the last 3 games, that's like essentially over 20 carries for a running back. And if you had over 20 carries for a running back in a PPR format, you'd probably be starting him every week. James White plays for a high scoring offense. Everything has kind of been there for him except for the touchdowns. Those are going to come. It's just a matter of when. He's shown us that over a large sample size. So yeah, James White is one of the better, buy lows in fantasy football. And if you don't have him ranked as like a top 20 running back this week, I feel bad for you when that accuracy competition comes in.
I do have him in my top 20. I've got him at number 18. And really that feels a little bit low, but sometimes, when I'm doing the accuracy competition and I'm looking at James White, ECR 27, I'm like, man, am I missing something? Because there are all these guys spending 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week researching this stuff. They've got James White 27. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I think that this has to come up during the week. And if it doesn't, we're just going to be right.
Yeah, that's basically how I feel.
All right. I want to talk about this San Francisco backfield, and then we'll get to Kansas City's backfield as well, because it's just a mess. Tevin Coleman is the lead back, but Matt Breida is still going to be involved. Can we start either of them? Can we start both of them this week against Washington?
I believe you can start both of them. Just with the way this game's going to be played, looking at the games. So Matt Breida, no matter what the game script is, he's averaging in between 13 and 17 touches per game. So obviously that's a role that Kyle Shanahan believes that he can stay healthy in, that he can remain efficient in. Whereas Tevin Coleman, he came in, I think he had 20 touches last week. So obviously they feel like he can handle a bigger workload. And that was in a game that they were leading throughout. The Redskins' opponents are averaging 67.5 plays per game. That's 5th in the NFL, while the 49ers' offense is averaging almost 70 plays per game, 3rd in the NFL. So it all adds up to tons of rushing attempts for this team that right now they're the run heaviest team in football. I think they only pass the ball 43% of the time, which is crazy. And that's why you're seeing Garoppolo's number so low. So if they're running the ball 57% of the time, and there's really no reason to think that they're going to be down in this game to change that very much, there's going to be, 30 plus run plays available. And Raheem Mostert might even get 5 carries in this game. But I do believe that Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida should both be considered like low end RB2s.
I would disagree that they're the most run-heavy team in the NFL, just because I think you also have to translate it to game script. Now, obviously, the game script is going to be, consistent with what they've done so far this season. But going forward, I don't know if Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida are going to both be startable every week, or if either of them is going to be startable, because I think the 49ers aren't going to go 16-0, right? But this week, I would play Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida over Austin Eckler at Tennessee, over Jordan Howard at Dallas. Would you agree with me on those two?
You said Jordan Howard, and what was the other one?
Austin Eckler.
Eckler, yeah, I think I would play both those guys over them. Yeah, definitely over Jordan Howard. Eckler is a little bit closer, but yes, I would still lean Breida or Coleman if you have the decision between those guys.
What about the guys out in Kansas City, Damian Williams and LeSean McCoy? I think LeSean McCoy is the clear number one now, but ECR has Damian Williams 26, LeSean McCoy 28. I'd start Coleman and Breida over both of them.
I 100% agree with you on that one as well. LeSean McCoy is someone I actually think that LeSean McCoy is the lead back. I think I have to operate that way. I mean, he led the team in snaps last week. He led him in touches. I don't know why people would be hesitant to put him as the lead back considering Damian Williams. I mean,
Damian Williams was drafted in the second and third round.
Probably.
I mean, he had one carry last week.
One target and one carry. I mean, he wasn't hurt. The game was close. There wasn't a blowout. Like, you could try and find all the excuses you can. Believe me, when I go through my process, I try and find all those excuses.
Right.
I try and look at the good and bad in everyone. And the only thing that I can come up with LeSean McCoy is that he had been dealing with an ankle injury for a while. And maybe they just said, we're going to give him a week to rest it up, and back in week 5. And then he came back.
Why play him why even give him a carry and why give him a target? Why not just sit him?
It's a good question. I mean, he didn't play a whole lot of snaps, but then again, they came back in week 6. This might be a frustrating backfield, and I want no part of it if I can help it. I have LeSean McCoy ranked as my number 24 running back this week, but I don't feel great about it. Like, the running back position as a whole, when you get into that RB3 range, it's kind of like, and the only reason I would play LeSean McCoy over someone like maybe a Carlos Hyde is because he presents more upside. Whereas like Hyde, I do feel like he's somewhat touchdown or bust. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case with someone like LeSean McCoy.
So it sounds like we're in a complete agreement so far. I've got, of the guys we've talked about, Tevin Coleman, and then I guess James White, and then Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida. And then I would go LeSean McCoy, Carlos Hyde, and then Damian Williams would be last. Would you agree with all that?
Yes. Damian Williams is down my list. He's outside the top 30 for me.
Okay. What about Austin Eckler and Jordan Howard? Would you rather play them over Damian Williams?
Yeah, I would play Eckler over him for sure.
Me too.
At least I know Eckler has
really close. I mean, Miles Sanders looked great last week. I think he's going to start getting more involved.
Yeah. I mean,
everyone was thinking Howard was going to run away with his backfield. I'm not so sure anymore.
Well, I mean, that's a game that I just got done researching, actually. And Jordan Howard, he played 40 snaps last week. Miles Sanders played just 19 of them.
Okay.
That's really odd. And the reason I say that it's really odd is because they were down that entire game. And it's like, Jordan Howard didn't see a target. Like, they're trusting him in pass protection. He actually has been really good in that area. Last year, he was one of the best pass protecting running backs in the game. So, I guess that's the reason. But he's another guy. It's like, you're going to be looking touchdown or bust from him. It is good to see that he's getting more touches. Unfortunately, against Dallas, it's a little bit tougher matchup. It's not a great matchup for running backs. He's like that low end RB3 if the game script goes south, you're not going to see him rack up a whole bunch of touches, kind of like it did last week. I do think Philly wins this game. So Jordan Howard, that's why I've kept him in the RB3 conversation. I prefer him over Miles Sanders this week. Just slightly though. Miles Sanders is like a high-end RB4, but he has more upside than Jordan Howard. So it really just depends on what you're looking for in your lineup.
Miles Sanders, by the way, in ECR is running back 31. That's a little bit high for me based on how much he's been playing. I've got him at 34, but I've got Howard down at 31. I don't love either of them against Dallas.
Yeah, no, it's definitely tough to love either of them with the way that the snaps are going, knowing like that one's a pass down back, but he's not on the field enough, especially in a negative game script like last week. He did have a couple big plays. His air yardage last week, Miles Sanders ranked, I think it was 3rd among running backs. So he was getting targeted down the field too. So they were good targets. But can you rely on that? I don't know.
So Tags, explain this one to me, okay? I'm looking at ECR again, and if you want to follow along, it's fantasypros.com/rankings. And Phillip Lindsay is ECR running back number 12. Yeah, he's been playing great. Kansas City's been giving up a ton of rushing yards, a ton of carries as well. I don't think the game script is obviously going to be good for Denver, but they also have Royce Freeman, RB23. Can you see both of these guys finishing in the top 24? And if they do, can Lindsay actually be a top 12 running back?
Yeah, I do kind of think that they can both finish there. Kansas City has been like a stomping ground for running backs dating back to the start of last season. Like the personnel that they have on the field, whatever reason, I don't know if they just don't care about stopping the run so much, but they have allowed, like going back to the start of last season, they've allowed more, like an average of more than it's like 1.5 top 24 running backs per game, like since the start of 2018. So it's like when you look at the timeshare between Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, They're both, like, in terms of like opportunity, like I was just talking about how people are undervaluing James White. In terms of opportunity, Royce Freeman is getting as much opportunity as Josh Jacobs on average. He's getting as much as Melvin Gordon on average. Kenyon Drake is in that conversation too, which is kind of crazy. But the opportunity is there for Royce Freeman as well. The reason that Lindsay is definitely higher up on the board is because he's been getting the goal line carries. I think they have had 6 carries inside the 5-yard line, and Lindsay has had 5 of them.
Which is so weird to me.
Yeah, no, he's so good. I mean, Phillip Lindsay deserves the starting job there. Royce Freeman could be a good running back too, and he is.
But wouldn't you think he'd be the guy they'd use on the goal line, and that Phillip Lindsay would be the guy they'd use on passing downs instead of Royce Freeman?
You would think so, but the thing
is bizarre.
Lindsay plays like a Tasmanian devil, man.
He's awesome.
You might maybe that's a nickname for Phillip Lindsay, Taz.
It sounds like Tags, man. That would confuse me a little bit. The reason I brought this up, Tags, I agree. Phillip Lindsay is a great play this week. He's in my top 15, no doubt about it. But a lot of people are going to see the way Phillip Lindsay's been playing, know that Royce Freeman's the backup, and they're going to say, I can't use Royce Freeman this week against Kansas City because Phillip Lindsay's a starter, and so Royce Freeman shouldn't be. 5 games, Royce Freeman has double-digit carries. 4 games, Royce Freeman has 4+ receptions. I mean, this guy's been used plenty. I'd rather use him over Carlos Hyde. I'd rather use him over Austin Eckler. I'd rather use him over Jordan Howard. I'd rather use him over Matt Breida, Tex.
I wouldn't go that far with Freeman. I have him right next to Hyde in my rankings. Like if I had a decision between Royce Freeman and Jamal Williams this week, that would be a really tough one for me. I have Freeman 1 spot higher just because they could go back to Jones. Devin Singletary is in that conversation. I know there's a lot of people excited about Devin Singletary, and Bobby, you might be one of
them. I'm so glad you brought him up because he's ECR 39 and it's driving me nuts, Tags. I've got him in my top 30 ahead of a lot of the guys that we've talked about. Damian Williams is one of them. Jordan Howard's another. Miles Sanders, obviously. How do you feel about Singletary this week?
I have him at 27 or 28. So I'm not
so you're higher than I am.
That's crazy. I don't even know how that is, because if you don't have him inside of your top 30 this week, where do you have Frank Gore? Like that's my question, because like they're going to run the ball on the Dolphins. Everybody does. Like the Dolphins just don't have talent. Frank Gore has been really good. I have Frank Gore up at number 22 in my running back rankings.
Oh, you've got Gore ahead of Singletary. I don't. I think that Singletary is going to be the hoss going forward.
I don't. I do not. He has 10 carries through 2 games that he played. I mean, I know he's looked good on those carries, but they've used him very sporadically. Like there was no consistent role when he was on the field. Frank Gore has played fantastic in his absence. Like Frank Gore is averaging like 5 yards per carry. So
he's running through holes that a semi truck could go
again,
through,
and he's going to be able to again against Miami. Hey, this is also the revenge game for Frank Gore, dude.
Frank Gore has a lot of revenge games.
He does. Well, this is
Is it going to be snowing? That's the really important question.
Is it going to be snowing? I don't know. Is it supposed to?
No, I'm just saying because Frank Gore would be awesome then. Yeah, I've got Singletary 29, Gore 30. I think they're both solid starts. In fact, I might move both of them up. I do think Singletary is going to be the main guy in Buffalo sooner than later. He could have played probably before the bye, but they gave him the extra week off just to make sure he's ready to go. He was incredible before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. Let's keep in mind he got hurt during week 2 when he was on fire again. Week 1 he had 4 carries, all of them were for 15+ yards. Week 2 he had 6 carries, 3 of them were for 15+ yards. He went for 57. He also had 5 receptions in week 1. I think this is a guy who's going to get double-digit touches every single week. And yeah, Frank Gore might get more work. He might play more snaps, but Singletary is going to outproduce him.
This week, that's what I'm saying. I'm projecting like 10 to 15 touches for Singletary. I think there's plenty of touches to go around in this game. Gore has been capped at 19 carries in the 5 games. So if they stop at 19, we're gonna see at least 10 carries for Devin Singletary, which is why I do think
that's a handful of targets. Yeah.
And that's why it's like Gore, I just think, is the safer option of the two, where it's like you're almost going on a leap of faith by starting Singletary over him, which is why I wouldn't do that. Like Singletary's in the conversation with guys that are heavily used backups, like a Royce Freeman, like a Jamal Williams.
All right, Tags, we're going to keep moving with running backs and then flip on over to wide receivers in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about one of the sponsors of today's show, HelloFresh. And you guys are going to love HelloFresh. Every time I get it in the mail, I get so pumped to rip it open and see what I'm going to be eating that week, because every meal is delicious and there's a lot of different stuff that they send you. I've learned a lot of my new favorite recipes that I make almost every single week came from HelloFresh, putting it in my mind. It's America's #1 meal kit. You can get easy seasonal recipes and pre-measured ingredients delivered right to your door. All you have to do is cook it and enjoy it. It's home-cooked meals made simple. They make cooking delicious meals at home just a reality, right? It's regardless of your comfort in the kitchen. You're going to get step-by-step instructions with pre-measured ingredients, as I mentioned. As I mentioned, and you'll have everything delivered, and you'll have everything you need to get a wow-worthy dinner on the table in just 30 minutes. Break out of your dinner rut with HelloFresh's 20-plus seasonal chef-curated recipes each week. You can add extra meals to your weekly order as well as yummy add-ons like garlic bread and cookie dough. Guys, if you haven't checked out HelloFresh, I think it's time to do it because you were missing out. I'm telling you. I didn't know about HelloFresh. I thought I didn't know any better, but now I eat HelloFresh all the time because it is so good, so convenient, and I'm learning a lot of stuff in the kitchen as well. I absolutely love it. So guys, my favorite that I've ever got from HelloFresh is called beef bulgogi. And it was something I was like, again, I mentioned, I got it and I was like, okay, what is this? It's probably going to be as good as everything else I've had, but I wasn't looking forward to it as much as the rest. It was by far the best thing I've ever had. And it's stuff like that you've never tried before that is just absolutely amazing. If you guys want to take advantage of an offer we have for you, you can get $80 off your first month of HelloFresh by going to HelloFresh.com/pros80 and enter pros80 as the promo code. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/pros80 and the promo code is pros80 to get $80 off your first month. All right, Tag. So I was going to ask you, are there any other running backs outside the top 30 that you feel confident in? I was going to say Devin Singletary. Do you have another one?
David Montgomery is teetering there. And I know he's probably a lot higher in people's rankings than mine.
No, he's number 29 right now.
Yeah, that's right around where he should be, to be honest with you. New Orleans got Sheldon Rankins back on the defensive line, and they've been studs ever since. And this is a team that you'd have to go back to 2017 to find the last time they allowed a 100-yard rusher. I know the Bears are going to want to run the ball. It's going to be tough to do it against New Orleans, so you should see Tariq Cohen being utilized in the passing game. Montgomery is just unexciting. I'm just not a big fan of playing running backs against New Orleans, especially ones that are involved in a timeshare and part of like bad offenses. So, yeah, unfortunately, this Bears offense is not very good right now.
Yep, I would agree with that, man. It's a real big disappointment. We'll see what happens with Trubisky coming back from injury, but until then, David Montgomery is going to be an RB3, and especially in a matchup against New Orleans, I don't feel good about him. He's ECR 29. I've got him 32. Adrian Peterson, a lot of people are going to play him after his big game. He gets up against San Francisco in a bad game script this week. I've got him outside my top 40 tags. Can you play him?
No, he's outside my top 40. I would not play Adrian Peterson. I would legitimately rather play Duke Johnson than Adrian Peterson this week.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to sound too crazy to a lot of people because they probably don't realize how little Duke Johnson's been playing. Yeah. He's got five carries last week, 2 receptions. That's about the most he's played all season. So that's who Duke Johnson is, and I would agree with you. I've got Duke Johnson 40, Adrian Peterson 42 for me. I don't want to talk about the Rams just because it depends on if Gurley plays. If Gurley plays, great, you play him. If he doesn't, great, you play Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson as a fringe flex play. But what about a couple of these other guys? I'm going to give you 3 or 4 names. If you're desperate, who would you rather play? Okay, let me make sure I didn't skip anyone that needs to be talked about. Okay, let's go on down. Jamal Williams at home against Oakland, who actually has a very good run defense this year. Let's go Chase Edmonds. With David Johnson's back banged up a little bit, he's going into face the New York Giants. Kenyon Drake at Buffalo. And let's throw in Latavius Murray as well with Alvin Kamara dealing with not only an ankle but a knee as well. He goes up against Chicago.
Yeah, I'm going to go Latavius Murray if Alvin Kamara is out. I don't think Alvin Kamara is going to play in this game.
Really? Okay. I mean, Murray would be an obvious start then. So let's get a different name.
Yeah, he's a top 24 play, obviously, if Kamara's out, and I see that. Jamal Williams is a decent play. Oakland's run defense has been pretty solid, but they did lose Vontaze Burfict. They're one of their inside linebackers to suspension, and the Bears didn't have a chance to exploit that last week because the game script just went south on them very quick. But I do expect both Packers running backs to be involved in this game. So many people are actually starting to think that Jamal Williams is going to be the starting running back until he loses that job. But I don't necessarily think that's the case because if we go back to week 2, when Aaron Jones went for 175 yards and a touchdown against the Vikings, the very next week, Jamal Williams led the team in snaps over him. So it's like,
exactly,
he wants this to be a timeshare. Aaron Jones is still the better running back, but so he's actually he is usable this week.
It's really interesting to me that Aaron Jones is sitting up there in ECR at number 9. Jamal Williams is all the way down here at 35, and they're going to split the backfield. I don't get that. I've got Aaron Jones at 14. I've got Jamal Williams at 27.
I have Jones.
And that still seems pretty far apart.
Yeah, I have Jones at 16. I have Jamal Williams at 30.
Okay, so any other running backs you want to talk about before we move on to the wide receiver position?
No, I just want to make it clear, though, that even though it is the Bears, Latavius Murray would be somebody that you definitely want to play if Kamara is out. And that's what I'm expecting, to be honest.
Top 20?
I have him at 23 right now. Akeem Hicks, the Bears lost Akeem Hicks to injured reserve this week. He's like a massive force up the middle of that defense.
Yes, he is.
So if Murray's going to get, he'd be locked in for 18 plus touches. You have to play him.
All right, Tags. Let's go to the wide receiver position. A lot of must plays. Now, we talked about last week, DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin moved into a must play every single week. Do you think Michael Gallup's in that position as well?
Oh, yeah. Michael Gallup's a must play this week. I don't even care if Amari Cooper plays or not. You play him. Like, he's a borderline wide receiver 1 this week.
Yeah, his ECR number 12. I've got him at number 9 right now, and I feel kind of stupid about it. But Philadelphia, again, just got absolutely hammered last week.
They've allowed 6 wide receivers to go for over 100 yards against them already.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say last week. I was like, no, I don't think that's true, but it seemed like it.
It could have been close. I mean, if they had 6 Stephon Diggs out there, they would have.
Yeah, but what do you think about Stephon Diggs, by the way? I mean, they're just going to go back to not passing the ball, right? And especially this week. Last week, it was a pass funnel offense where they had to throw the ball because Philadelphia is so good at stopping the run. They're horrible against the pass, and so it made them pass the ball a ton. And they were playing from behind. I'm sorry, they were playing from ahead, so forget that. But this week, it's the complete opposite. And it's kind of weird because Detroit last year was so good against the run. They weren't as good in the secondary. It was kind of a run funnel defense. And now it's it was a pass funnel defense. And now it's a run funnel defense because they've got Coleman out there. They've got Darius Slay out there. They've got an incredible secondary and they can't seem to stop the run. So Diggs right now at ECR 21, that seems high to me. I've got him as a fringe wide receiver 3.
I have him in the wide receiver 3 conversation. He's skilled enough to beat anybody. Like Stephon Diggs is really talented. Like he's not Antonio Brown level, but he's like a very, very skilled route runner that just needs the targets, right? And he can beat Darius Slay if that's who he draws in coverage. I don't know if they're going to shadow in this game. They may view Thielen and Diggs as similar, entities, and they just decide to keep Slay on one side of the field. Rashawn Melba has been really good too. Overall, they've only allowed the Lions have only allowed a 53% catch rate to wide receivers, and knowing that Diggs has seen 4 or less targets in half of his games,
so he's going to catch 2 balls.
Yeah, I think this is a Dalvin Cook game. I think they get back to the run. I
think it's a Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison game.
It could be. It very well could be. I mean, Detroit's been struggling against the run, so I could see that for sure. But Diggs, he comes with risk, right? And that's why he slots in as the wide receiver 3, because usually when you get to that area of wide receiver 3 players, you're not going to have anybody really safe left to choose from. And what you're looking for is someone with a ceiling. And I do know that if Stephon Diggs gets 7 targets in any matchup, I'm willing to play him.
Okay, so Stephon Diggs against Detroit. It's actually in Detroit. Terry McLaurin has a bad matchup at home against San Francisco. Or would you rather play John Brown at home against Miami?
Oh, McLaurin is the one. I'd go with McLaurin here.
Me too. I'm looking at it's complete opposite. McLaurin is 24 in ECR, Diggs 21, John Brown 20, which really surprised me. I've got Brown in my top 25, but seeing him that high, I thought I was going to be really high on him. I would go McLaurin out of these 3 as well.
Yeah, it's been a very top-heavy offense. Like there's nobody really else. And if the game script goes south, that Case Keenum's still under center. He's the one that's supported McLaurin throughout this entire season. Like when he wasn't the starting quarterback, McLaurin didn't have a great game. I know it was against the Patriots, but still. So I mean, I'm gonna say that McLaurin would be my choice here. He typically lines up on the left side of the formation, which is where Ahkello Witherspoon typically is. He's hurt. They have an undrafted free agent playing on that side of the field opposite Richard Sherman. So they don't shadow at all. Like it's a zone coverage. So I think his name is Emmanuel Mosley is what I believe his name is. He has been decent in coverage, but he hasn't really been tested yet. I do think that Terry McLaurin, just like if you guys watched the game last week with Terry McLaurin against the Dolphins, like he just puts on a route running clinic. He's fantastic. He's someone that I absolutely,
he's so smart too. He plays like such a veteran.
Yeah, his routes are fantastic. I fall in love with route runners. So Terry McLaurin is someone I did not watch enough college tape on, and that's on me. But I missed on him, and it is what it is. But I'm not going to miss on him anymore. He's a guy that should be locked into 8 targets in this matchup, so I'm playing him.
Man, I love Terry McLaurin, and I still do. I think Jacoby Myers might end up being better than McLaurin, but McLaurin right now, he's the best wide receiver in this draft class, and it's not even close.
He's looked the best. He's looked fantastic, yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to give you 6 players that I think are in this always start, don't ask questions range. But I think a lot of people are wondering if that's the case. So I'm going to ask you if you disagree with any of them. Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks.
You play those guys
no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously against Atlanta this week, but every week, Tex?
Not every. I don't
because Jared Goff kind of sucks.
Yeah, he hasn't been good. But yes,
Cooper Kupp's good. Gerald Everett's involved.
Yeah, I'm attacking the hell out of this game.
Yeah.
Robert Woods needs to be in lineups. Brandon Cooks needs to be in lineups. Like you play everybody you can against Atlanta and the Rams. I'm not a big fan of Jared Goff. I've talked about this like all year long, saying that.
But if he passes the ball 45 times a game, it's fine.
He's going to throw the ball 50 times in this game, most likely. Like this could be like one of the bigger shootouts that we see this year. The total started out at like 53, and it's been moving up and up and up. I don't know if that stops now that the Rams did acquire Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. It may. He's probably going to shadow Julio, I would assume. But there's a lot of moving parts in the defense for them to do that, because you have to have certain communication about like what you're doing. I don't know if they're going to have him shadow right away, to be honest with you. They may have him play a side of the field, and Calvin Ridley's still pretty damn good too. So, yeah, I'm attacking that game though. The Rams offense needs to get back on track, and you do that through the.
I don't think anyone's questioning whether or not you sit Robert Woods or Brandon Cooks this week. I'm just talking about always.
Moving
like
forward,
we should never talk about them.
Right. No, ideally, no, I don't think you have to every single week. Like Woods lost some targets. Like he only saw 4 targets last week. I think Cooks only saw 3 targets.
Right.
It was a terrible game. We need to like wipe it from the hard drive and like reevaluate. Like, once it's weird because when Gurley hasn't played well or he's been out of the lineup, that's where Goff struggles. And maybe he's a bigger key to this offense than people realize.
I've got Woods wide receiver 3 rest of the season. Brandon Cooks is barely inside my top 20. I just don't feel as confident moving forward. So not always must starts in my opinion. What about Courtland Sutton, Larry Fitzgerald, Tyler Boyd? Have they entered into this range?
Oh yeah, Larry Fitzgerald's a must play every week. He comes with a high floor. He's not going to have a massive ceiling or anything, but you play him every single week.
Solid wide receiver 2, pretty much every week.
Yeah, he's like a low end 2, minimal upside, so you can call him a high end 3, whatever you want. But he's someone that you play every week, especially in a matchup against the Giants, who can't defend the slot. Courtland Sutton has seen at least 7 targets in every single game. So you definitely play him. When you get wide receivers that are seeing that kind of volume, you just plug them in. The matchups you have to pay attention to, and it's what'll dictate a lot of times who you play in DFS. It'll tend me to move away from a guy, but when you have someone that's seeing that many targets, he's the feature point. It sounds like they're going to move Emmanuel Sanders at some point, so maybe they don't put him in harm's way. So Courtland Sutton should continue to see tons of targets.
What about Will Fuller, Tags? Do you know how many times he has finished with more than 10 PPR points this season?
Is it once?
One time.
But the targets are there. He's someone I was willing to follow. When we had Joe Holka on the DFS show and we talked about Fuller, I started looking into Fuller more, and I'm like, yeah, the targets are there. Like eventually it's going to happen. And it's kind of like going to DeAndre Hopkins. The reason I'm buying Hopkins, the targets are still there. He's still that same player. It's just a matter of getting it done. We know Will Fuller's not hurt after he had that explosion. He actually had he
almost had 3 touchdowns last week.
He could have. He dropped 3 of them. Drops have been a part of his game going back to Notre Dame. The targets are there, the air yards are there, everything. Like the vital signs for Will Fuller are good. He's someone I play every single week as a wide receiver 3, and don't even worry about the matchup. Just say he's gonna I'll live with the downs in order to get those ups.
I would agree. He's got more targets this season than Kenny Golladay, Amari Cooper, DJ Chark, Jarvis Landry. Mm-hmm. He's getting plenty of work. I think that you start him every single week. Let's move on to the more questionable ones for this specific week. Robbie Anderson going up against the New England Patriots. I almost said New Orleans Patriots. Let's throw him in there with Allen Robinson against the Saints. I would imagine that he's going to be covered by Marshawn Lattimore. The Saints defense has shut down a couple passing offenses in the past 2 weeks. And then Mike Williams at Tennessee. How do you feel about Anderson, Robinson, and Williams?
So Mike Williams, they're trying to make him a thing, really, really bad. If you look at the last couple of weeks, he has seen, I think it was
23 targets in the last 2 weeks.
He's been escalating. Starting in week 1, it was only 3 targets, then it was 5, then it was 7, and then he was out for 1 week, and then he came back, and it's 13, it's 10. They're trying to force the ball to him, man. That's going to change soon because Keenan Allen's not going to continue to see 5 or 6 targets. He's going to get targeted again. But Phillip Rivers is in a slump right now, and he's struggling. Fortunately, he looked better in the second half against the Steelers last week. But Williams is someone that I would definitely consider. I would play Mike Williams over Robbie Anderson this week for sure. just because of those target numbers that are there. The matchup is so much better. The Patriots have they've allowed one touchdown to a wide receiver this year, and it was not a perimeter player. Stephon Gilmore is going to shut down Robbie Anderson. Like if he catches one ball for a touchdown, like a long pass for a touchdown, I can't. Those are difficult things to predict. But I'm not betting on it this week against New England. And
I've got Robbie Anderson outside my top 36. He's a wide receiver 4 for me.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a top 36 play this week. And because it's all about playing the odds, right? And not that sometimes the odds can't blow up in your face, but 90% of the time, Robbie Anderson's going to finish outside the top 40 wide receivers this week. So I'm playing those odds. And as for Allen Robinson, that's a situation where I'm willing to play him as a wide receiver 3. It's kind of like a Stephon Diggs thing, but we know that Allen Robinson's going to get targeted. We know that Allen Robinson is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. We know that Allen Robinson is great in contested catches. Lattimore, going back, like he's been tight in coverage a lot. Like, and think about the guys that he shut down. Mike Evans has not been great in contested catch situations. Amari Cooper not been great in contested catch situations. Gardner Minshew was bad last week, so we didn't get to see DJ Chark with those. But I'm willing to bet on Allen Robinson, a guy that's had to make circus catches all year long. And he's another guy. He has seen at least 7 targets in every single game. So knowing the Bears are going to struggle to move the ball on the ground, I don't see there's any way that Allen Robinson doesn't see 8 targets in this game.
I've got Allen Robinson as a must start every week. I don't care if he's going up against the New England Patriots. I'm playing him. No doubt about it.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. Like he's right there in the conversation with guys like John Brown, Calvin Ridley this week.
And I think Mike Williams is moving into that tier. You talked about it with the targets and everything. He has 0 touchdowns, but he's going to end up with 5 or 6 this season because he's such a force of nature in the red zone. I mean, I know Hunter Henry's there as well, but Mike Williams is a stud, and his rest of the season schedule looks really good. He's a great buy low guy. We should have talked about him yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy to think like he's averaging more targets per game than Amari Cooper right now, more than T.Y. Hilton. So he's getting targeted, man.
All right, guys. We're going to keep moving on and talk about wide receivers here in just a second. If you guys have more start-sit questions, Tags has his primer, literally a paragraph on every single player. I've got my rankings that I pinned to my Twitter, again, at Bobby Fantasy Pro. I update those every couple of hours, even up until kickoff, so you can check out who I would recommend starting. I do my live stream on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/fantasypros. That's Thursday afternoon. We're doing it at 1 p.m. Eastern time every single week. Tags also does one on Sundays as well. So you can get a lot of start-sit questions there. We also have something really convenient called the start-sit assistant that you guys are just absolutely going to love. It gives you the percentage of experts who would start the players on your roster every single week. That way you can have like a team of experts in your war room with you. It's instant recommendations on the best lineup for the week. You get suggestions from the expert consensus, most accurate of your favorite experts. You can submit optimal lineups to your league host directly from my playbook, which is really great. So you don't have to go to like 6 or 7 commissioner platform sites. And you can also receive instant email notifications if your optimal lineup changes. The Start Sit Assistant is only available to premium members. So if you want to get an offer for that, we're giving out a Hall of Fame premium package. It's 6 months, $65 value for just $10. If you go to fantasypros.com/offers, you can check out the details for that. All right, Tags, moving on to the wide receivers. Let's go to Marvin Jones, faced Minnesota. He's in the top 30 ECR this week. DK Metcalf faced Baltimore. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It looks like Devontae Adams is going to be out again against Oakland. He's number 3 in ECR. I'd have him far away. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the number 1 of this group. Would you agree?
He has to be the number 1. I mean, I don't feel great about starting Valdez-Scantling now that he's had 6 targets in the last 2 games without Devontae Adams. Like,
right. Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah. I don't know if Rodgers just doesn't trust him. Now, Alan Lazard, is he like a thing? But knowing that Geronimo Allison might be out of the lineup, it seems likely that Geronimo Allison's not going to play for this game in this game. So how do you turn down the number 1 receiver for Aaron Rodgers? I have to go
Oakland.
Yeah, I have to go with Valdez-Scantling here.
I've got him top 20 this week, Tags.
I don't have him top 20. I have him like in the top 30, but I don't have him that high.
Do you think Rodgers is going for like 180 yards and 1 touchdown or something?
I mean, Rodgers has not been very good, dude. Like he's been bad.
It's sad, isn't it?
The offense isn't throwing the ball very much. He hasn't. I mean, the thing is like I said this starting last year, and it's kind of continued this year, where it's like Rodgers. It's almost like he's gotten too cocky. And I know that people have said that for a long time, and I'm like, well, he has a reason to be cocky. Like he's the best in the game, but he just like, he legitimately, everything is somebody else's fault. And like, he can't admit when he doesn't take chances anymore. He waits till a while. It's like, if he doesn't have
chemistry,
chemistry,
way too many sacks.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And he's doing that because all the receivers are like in and out of the lineup. And it's like Devontae Adams was the one constant that he had. And it's like, oh, let's target Devontae Adams. Those two had a relationship. He doesn't have that with anybody else. He really doesn't. He had to trust Lazard down the sideline twice last week. And Lazard is someone that I'm like watching closely because
he's a talented player.
But the reason is because if Rodgers trusts him in one-on-one situations, something he hasn't really done with Valdez-Scantling, it's like, okay, could this be the next guy that he targets in the offense? Because there's going to be someone that's viable in this offense every single week. And if it's not Valdez-Scantling, you want to find out who it is. So he's someone to keep an eye on. Like, you don't have to play him this week, but Valdez-Scantling has to be the number one in that offense right now. But I'm a little worried about it.
So, Tags, I mean, I get it what you're saying about Aaron Rodgers, but he's still a top 10 quarterback this week against Oakland, right?
Yeah, he's top 10. I mean,
so wouldn't you rather start Marquez Valdez-Scantling than Robbie Anderson, Marvin Jones, DK Metcalf? Heck, even Calvin Ridley against the Rams, I'd rather start him there.
No, I'd take Calvin in that matchup. Knowing the Rams lost Talib, they lost Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much shifting around there. It's like Jalen Ramsey, of course, his back's going to be magically fine for him to play this game. But Rodgers, I actually have him. I'm looking at it right now. I have him as my number 11 quarterback this week. I'm not.
Well, you're wrong.
I mean, you tell me who you'd start him over. I'm going to run through I'll run through my top 10. You tell me who you'd start.
We'll get to it when we get to the quarterback position. Let's keep moving on with wide receivers here really quick, though, so we don't throw the listeners off a little bit. Golden Tate against Arizona. Jamison Crowder faced New England. He got a lot of targets again with Sam Darnold back. And then Emmanuel Sanders faced Kansas City. This
is Golden Tate. Hands down, like not even close for me. I have Tate as a borderline top 20 play this week.
Dang. Okay. I mean, I like Golden Tate a lot.
I don't think Sterling Shepard's playing. And Patrick Peterson.
Ingram's not playing either.
Yeah. Ingram, I don't know. They're saying that he thinks he has a chance to play. So I haven't let go of that one.
I'm not optimistic, but I have Emmanuel Sanders out of this group, but I like Golden Tate. I've got him in my top 30. I just really like Emmanuel Sanders against Kansas City.
I don't have an issue.
Throw the ball a ton.
I don't have an issue with Sanders in terms of like the matchup or like who he is as a player. I have an issue with what I'm seeing on the field. Like he's
had 2 receptions in the last 2 weeks. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Like there was a 1 target game in there. There was a 3 target game. Like there's just too much inconsistency, and that's going to kill you in fantasy football. I do kind of like him just because of the fact that they're probably going to have to throw more than they typically do. I just think Golden Tate is a safe play. Like Patrick Peterson is coming back for the Cardinals. He doesn't play in the slot at all. And that's where Golden Tate's running 80% of his routes. So Tremaine Brock is the guy that Golden Tate's going to be matched up with, and he'll win that matchup. You know, we saw Golden Tate as like kind of the only option last week and against a tough Patriots team, and he still managed to have a pretty solid game. It kind of convinced me that, okay, Daniel Jones is going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. And I would start Golden Tate over. I'd probably start Golden Tate over someone like Allen Robinson this week.
Okay. Well, I love Golden Tate, so I'm not going to argue with you, but I do want to say this about Emmanuel Sanders. I'm going to give you 4 players. You tell me which one has the most fantasy points this year. Emmanuel Sanders, Brandon Cooks, Juju Smith-Schuster, Josh Gordon.
Oh, it's easy. Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been terrible for those other guys. Like, yeah, Brandon Cooks is going to have a blow up week though this week. Like we're going to talk about it in the DFS show, but Brandon Cooks is going to blow up this week. That's
Emmanuel Sanders.
My take.
He's played good football. Just the last 2 weeks it hasn't been pretty. I just want to encourage everyone. Start him against Kansas City. Yeah. It wasn't good against Tennessee. It wasn't good against the Chargers. Before then, 86 yards, 98 yards, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns.
If he plays, like I know they're saying that he's confident that he'll play. This game is taking place on Thursday night, so it's always tough because he had to leave last week.
Yeah,
that's another concern with Emmanuel Sanders. But yeah, I mean this week with so many buys, like a lot of big players on buys this week, it's tough not to have Emmanuel Sanders as like a top 25, 26 play.
Sure. Okay, Tex, let's go one more group of 3, and then we'll talk about wide receivers outside the top 40 that we feel confident playing. Auden Tate against Jacksonville now that Jalen Ramsey's gone. Mohamed Sanu faced the Los Angeles Rams. You're talking about that one being a shootout. And then Dante Pettis, who's playing all the time, and he goes up against Washington this week.
Oh, man, this one's tough. If you're looking for a potential breakout performance, it's Pettis. But
me too.
But that's a risky one. Like Auden Tate is probably the safest play here. Like AJ Boye hasn't been shadowing. And now that Ramsey's gone, like this team changes, right? Like it's a team that you don't have to run from anymore. Like Boye is a good corner. He is for sure, but he's not a shadow shutdown cornerback like Jalen Ramsey.
He's about like on the same level as William Jackson in Cincinnati. Do we worry about Cincinnati's pass defense?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like Jacksonville's pass defense is mediocre now at best.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So on Tate, knowing that like his average target share is massive. Like people don't realize how much opportunity he's been getting.
Right.
Like ever since Ross has been out, it's like 10 targets, 6 targets, 12 targets. That's massive.
And he's good too. And he's going to get the ball in the red zone because he's humongous.
Yeah, he's like 6'5", 6'6". He's a big dude. But if AJ Green comes back, it would help even more, honestly. Like I still think that Tate's going to be involved even when AJ Green comes back. But Tate is someone that I would consider playing over someone like Mohamed Sanu, because Sanu's matchup in the slot with Nickel Robbie Coleman it's not the best matchup. Like he's over
it's the worst matchup. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's the worst matchup of the Falcons pass catchers. So it's like, why target that matchup? I don't think they need to.
Well, I mean, Jalen Ramsey's there now, but like, we don't know who he's going to be on.
True.
So, I mean, you can say it's going to be Julio Jones because it makes sense, but what if they just decide I'm going to put him on Calvin Ridley and then we're going to double team Julio Jones? I think that makes more sense.
I don't think the Rams have the play. I don't think they have the players to do it. Like, honestly, I really don't. Are you going to put Troy Hill on Julio Jones and bracket him? Like Julio moves around enough.
I'd rather do that than let Calvin Ridley just eat me alive.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley would do that too. Like, That's what I'm saying. It's like the Falcons have so many weapons. That team should be so damn good, but the defense is Dan Quinn's going to get fired before long. It's just a matter of when. Yeah. But that offense, they have so many weapons there with Hooper and everything now. So yeah.
Can you imagine if they hire Mike Leach next year and they've got Matt Ryan, Julio Jones?
What does
Calvin
this do
Ridley,
for the defense though, Bobby?
What's that?
What does this do for the defense though?
Who cares if you're scoring 80 points a game, man?
Oh man.
All right. Guys, we'll go outside of the top 38. Preston Williams, Hardman are in that tier. Marquise Goodwin. Anybody that you feel confident in?
I mean, Cole Beasley is someone that I'd probably like give a high floor to. I don't feel confident. Like this week, honestly, looking at wide receivers, like I get outside the top 30 and I'm like, I want to sit everybody. Like you're essentially looking for home run threats. You know, Preston Williams has been getting targets, but he's playing Buffalo. Right. Corey Davis has been like, he's maxed at 6 targets. They're playing the Chargers. Will he be shadowed by Casey Hayward? Probably. Yes. Kiki QT. We have Kenny Stills coming back to the lineup. Most likely. Darius Slayton, again, Arizona with Patrick Peterson back. Nelson Aguilar, do you start considering him? Adam Humphries, no. Some people are excited about. Like, it's so ugly at wide receiver this week with the 4 teams on bye and 4 teams that do provide a lot of fantasy options. So it's tough.
I've got 3 of them I want to pick your brain on. Okay.
Yeah.
Darius Slayton against Arizona, because it seems like Sterling Shepard's not going to come back.
Right. That's the Patrick Peterson effect, though, where it's like now Patrick Peterson and Byron Murphy as your starting cornerbacks in the perimeter. Those are going to be tougher matchups. Now, Slayton he should see 6 targets. Like, I think that's definitely in play for him. So he's on the radar, and I have him inside my top 45 wide receivers this week. But I'm not confident in him just because I don't think that Byron Murphy or Patrick Peterson are matchups that you actively target.
All right, the next one I want to ask you about is Jacoby Myers, because we don't know if Josh Gordon's going to play, but we also don't know. I mean, if Josh Gordon plays and they're playing on Monday night, then Jacoby Myers is a crummy start.
Well, Phillip Dorsett too, like both those players. It's like they're expecting Dorsett to be able to play in this game, but we don't know so much. I mean, the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, like the injuries have come. It's so bad. Like the timing's terrible because you have Amari Cooper who's questionable, and it's like usually you can just grab a wide receiver that you know is going to play in Sunday night or Monday. So Randall Cobb's questionable, so we don't know if Tavon Austin's going to be available, like a good streamer for you. Then we go to the Monday night game. Josh Gordon's questionable. Phillip Dorsett's questionable. We have Demaryius Thomas going against the Patriots. That's not a good matchup. So it's like it's a really bad week to be waiting on someone like Amari Cooper or Josh Gordon, because it's like the options, you don't know if they're going to be even on the field essentially. So Jacoby Myers is someone that's an awesome play, like to grab if you have someone like Josh Gordon or Phillip Dorsett on your roster, because if either of those guys are out, I do think Myers is going to have a role.
Do you think Christian Kirk is going to play? What about Marquise Brown?
Kirk probably going to play, and I do like him.
He would be a must start for him if he plays against the Giants.
Yeah, he would absolutely. And Marquise Brown, I want to see him return to practice. Here, the reason that I don't think he plays this week is because they have their bye week next week. So if they have their bye next week, why bring him back from an ankle injury is what they're calling it. It's a little worrisome because it's like he had foot surgery this offseason. He's been dealing with these things. My guess is that they keep him out of this game, which means Miles Boykin could be someone that you could potentially pop into your lineup and hope for a touchdown.
All right. The other guy I wanted to ask you about is Paul Richardson. Actually, no. Yeah, I don't know. Let's not even talk about Paul Richardson.
I don't want to talk about Paul Richardson.
Yeah. I mean, he plays a bunch of snaps, and it's a bad matchup against San Francisco. So just forget I said anything, everyone. You guys can make fun of me if you want. Okay, tight end position. The top 7 are super obvious. Hunter Henry, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews. You play them all, of course. After that, Delaney Walker against the Chargers.
Delaney Walker, yes. I have him actually at number 9 among tight ends. So he's definitely someone. Wait, did you say the top 8 are obvious or top 7?
Top 7. I didn't include Evan Ingram just because he's might not play. If he does play, he's obvious. Top 8 are obvious.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely where the difference was. I was like trying to figure out like who you wouldn't have in there. But yeah, Delaney Walker and Dawson Knox are the 2 tight ends I have at 9 and 10 right now.
Knox is ECR 20. I've got him at 10 as well.
I mean, the thing is tight ends are so volatile, and I do anticipate people like starting to realize that Dawson Knox is a much better play this week than like maybe they're looking at, because so Buffalo is going to run the ball a lot. They do, but Josh Allen's still going to throw the ball 26, 28 times, like somewhere in that range. And the Dolphins have been brutal against tight ends this year. Dawson Knox is a full-time player. He's one of the rare tight ends that's not involved in a timeshare. He's been getting more targets. He's looked good on those targets that he has gotten. So it's like, I feel like it's a good spot start for him. Do I keep him at 10? Maybe not. Because when you get to that range, it's like, do I start Jason Witten over him? Witten's probably safer. I will say that.
No, do you really think so?
Witten
gets he gets like four targets a game.
Exactly 4 targets in every game, actually. He like up until last week. So I kid you not, it's one of the weirdest things. He had seen exactly 4 targets in each of the first 5 games, and then he had 7 targets this past week with Amari Cooper dealing with that injury. But knowing that, again, the Cowboys are not going to be able to run the ball extremely well. I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, but it's against Philly. Philly's so good against tight ends.
They have been, but this year, for whatever reason, like Jimmy Graham had a good game against them. There was another tight end. I can't remember who it was right now, but it was a veteran tight end that had a good game. And I'm like, maybe there's something to this veteran thing. So Jason Witten's like a safe option. And that's weird to say at tight end. Like Witten is top. He's had at least 50 yards in 3 of the last 4 games. Witten is like, again, he's on prime time. Jason Witten always shows up. Like you're guaranteed 3 catches for like 40 yards. And out of a tight end,
that doesn't sound great, but a tight end, that's fine. I'm
telling you, that's going to be a top 15 performance at tight end. And that's the thing is like, that's your floor with him. So I'm cool with playing him over guys like Jimmy Graham. I'm cool with playing Witten over guys like Eric Ebron, where you're looking for a touchdown.
Hold on a second. Did you say Jimmy Graham? You'd rather play him than Jimmy Graham against Oakland.
Yes. Jimmy Graham looks toast.
With Devontae Adams out. With Geronimo Allison out against Oakland. Oakland. I've got Jimmy Graham tight end 8 right now.
I'm telling you, like Jimmy Graham looks like crap. Like I honestly have no idea.
He can look like crap and still get 6 targets and go for 80 yards against Oakland.
Well, no, he's not going. I promise you, he's not going for 80 yards. I would bet on that. However, he can score a touchdown. That's something that I know he can still do. He could still stand there and jump a little bit. So that's why I have Jimmy Graham at 12, because I think he has one of the better shots at a touchdown. I just think that Jason Witten's like a lot safer.
That is weird to me, man. I am shocked that you're saying that. Here's a couple guys that I do like a little bit more. We already mentioned Delaney Walker, Gerald Everett against Atlanta because the high scoring game. They're featuring him in a lot of plays. Really focused on getting the ball to Gerald Everett. I think he's a solid play this week. He's in my top 12. And then I also like Noah Fant against Kansas City Tags. What do you think about that one?
I don't like Noah Fant at all.
I don't like Noah Fant. I like the tight end against Kansas City.
I have Fant outside my top 20. I can't trust him. Like he doesn't look good on the targets he does get. And I don't think he's I don't think he's had more than like 4 targets in a game. So I'm moving him down.
5 against Oakland for 29 yards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, I'm not a big fan of Fant right now. And I know people want to tie it to Flacco, but Flacco's not targeting him. It's like his new tight end is Courtland Sutton. I'm going to pivot and say that a couple tight ends that you could probably start, and I would start them over Noah Fant, are Darren Fells and Jordan Akins.
Both?
I think that I have them both as top 20 tight ends. Yes.
Me too.
I'm going to go with Fells as the one that I would rather play.
Me too.
Indianapolis. So they've allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends right now. No starting tight end has finished worse than the tight end 17 against them, which is a decent floor for you. And they've had 2 backup tight ends finish as the tight end 12 and tight end 17. So it's like there's a floor to be had here. I mean, that kind of explains, like they've allowed 7 different tight ends to finish in the top 17 in 5 games. So with Fells, like getting more involved in the offense. Akins is out there too. With Kenny Stills coming back, I don't know if both of them are going to be involved, but the reason I stuck with Fells as the better option of the two is because he's out there for more snaps because he's a better blocker. Whereas Akins was coming on the field as a receiver. So it's tough.
Would you play either of them over two guys we haven't mentioned yet? TJ Hawkinson faced Minnesota, Jared Cook at Chicago.
Yeah. Jared Cook's probably going to move up a little bit, considering Kamara, because if Kamara's out, he's probably going to see a bigger target share, but still.
They're ECR 11 and 12, by the way. I've got them both outside my top 15.
Who, Hawkinson and Cook?
Hawkinson and Cook, ECR 11 and 12, ahead of Jimmy Graham at Oakland.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I mean, there's some questionable things. Like, this is still the middle of the week where there's still research to be done, but
right. I mean, the rankings are going to fluctuate, so continue to check it out. Again, that's at fantasypros.com/rankings. But if you're thinking about starting Hawkinson or Cook, looking at this right now, I wouldn't do it. Like I mentioned, Jimmy Graham, I like him. Dallas Goedert, we haven't even mentioned him yet. Darren Fells, Jordan Akins. I am going to talk about Dallas Goedert. He had 8 targets last game. He's played more snaps in each of the last 3 games than Mark Andrews has once all season. He's going to be used. I mean, I know Zach Ertz is there as well, but essentially Dallas Goedert has replaced Nelson Aguilar in this offense.
He's a flyer for sure, man. Like, well, Aguilar, I think, had 8 targets last week too, but Goddard's involved, man. Like, he's out there. Like, the last 3 weeks, he's been on the field for at least 69% of the snaps. So he's definitely involved, and it doesn't seem like Deshaun Jackson's going to be back. So Goddard is like if you're playing like a DFS, like a showdown slate, like Dallas Goedert is going to be probably underowned. But going back to Hawkinson, dude, against Minnesota, I don't see it.
Don't do it.
I really don't see it. Like, Matt Stafford sucked against Minnesota last year. And so, like, I think what people are seeing is they're saying Minnesota's allowed the 8th most fantasy points to tight ends. Well, that's probably it's quite easy to do that when you've played against Darren Waller, Austin Hooper, Evan Ingram, and Zach Ertz. Like, your numbers are going to look worse than they do, but and those guys, I mean, they've averaged 60. They've seen 64 targets to the tight end position. That's like the most in the league. That's over 10 targets per game. Hawkinson doesn't get close to that. So no, I don't get that one.
Tags, let's go quarterback. The top 6 are really obvious. By the way, this is the first time in a calendar year I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes as the number 1 quarterback. Deshaun Watson passed him this week. But obviously you start Watson, Mahomes, Jackson, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, even against Baltimore, Kyler Murray against the Giants. I'm going to throw in 2 others that I think are absolute locks. Jared Goff at Atlanta. You already talked about that shootout. And then Dak Prescott going up against Philly. Even Kirk Cousins crushed Philly last week. So those top 8 locked in. Would you agree with that?
I have Josh Allen over Dak.
Okay, well, Josh Allen, I think should be locked in as well at home against Miami. I've got him number 8. I've got him number 9. So those 9, lock them in, right?
I would say, I mean, well, so Dak could actually move up in my rankings if Amari plays. We don't know if Amari's going to play right now, and Dak splits, like, that's something, again, I told you, I just got done researching that game. And ever since, so I'm going to actually pull it up right now with Cooper in the lineup for most of the game. Cause I'm counting last week's game where he played 2 snaps where he was out. But with Cooper, a 70.7% completion rate, 8.3 yards per attempt, 291 yards per game, 1.8 touchdowns. You're right. It's fantastic. But then without Cooper, 63% completion rate, 6.9 yards per attempt, 211 yards per game, 1 touchdown per game. Like,
we'll also add in the splits with Tyron Smith out, and he might be out again. Collins might be out again.
I would imagine those guys will make it back because they were hopeful for last week. They didn't play. So I'm going to guess that they're back for this divisional showdown with the Eagles. And again, they do have some extra time to prepare for it.
Yeah.
But I still think Dak's a good start, even if Amari doesn't play, but I don't think he's like an elite must start.
I would agree with that. Cause like I'd play Joe Flacco against the Philadelphia Eagles secondary, right? Okay. So who rounds out your top 12 then? We talked about our top 9. Who are 10, 11, and 12 for you?
Carson Wentz at 10, Aaron Rodgers at 11, and Gardner Minshew at 12.
Gardner Minshew at 12 against Kansas City. I mean, he's dealing with the knee. He's dealing with the groin. He had a great matchup last week, and he did nothing. I can't play him.
Against Cincinnati, I mean, they've allowed 6 different quarterbacks to post at least 16 fantasy points. I think the groin thing is like, I think it's overplayed. I just think that I think the Saints are an actually tough matchup that people don't realize.
They weren't to start the season, but when Lattimore started playing well, man, they turned into studs.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like the Bengals don't have that. They're missing a lot. Right. And Drake Kirkpatrick, one of their starting cornerbacks, I don't know if he's been announced as like on IR, but I'm fairly certain that he's already out for this week.
Yep, he is. He is out for the week, so that's big for DJ Chark as well. I mean, I think Minshew's a solid option, but I can't have him in my top 12 is what I'm saying. I have Daniel Jones in my top 12 face Arizona tags. How do you feel about that one?
I don't have him there. I have him down at like 17.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not anti Daniel Jones. I'm just like not into him because again, I do think that Patrick Peterson coming back changes what happens with Arizona. And I don't think that they're a team that you just walk on every single week. Patrick Peterson is like a guy that I believe, I mean, maybe it was performance enhancing stuff, whatever. I don't know what it was, but he's a guy that I would say contended with Jalen Ramsey as the best cornerback in the league.
Agree.
Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in the NFL. And he was asked the question, like, who's the best cornerback? And he's like, well, I can only speak from my experience because I haven't played against guys, but he's like, I'll tell you, I don't look forward to playing against Patrick Peterson. Like he's the best I've ever seen.
Yep. Patrick Peterson is really good. This is more about Saquon Barkley to me. Saquon Barkley's likely going to be back this week. And I think Daniel Jones is going to get his. He's a good quarterback. I've also got Tom Brady in my top 12 going into the New York Jets. Not the best matchup, but again, Tom Brady has a lot of weapons. Somebody else that I'm considering here, tags, Jacoby Brissett face Houston at home. Where do you have him?
And I take it back, Bobby. I for whatever reason, Brady was knocked off my rankings for whatever reason, so he would definitely be in the top 12. I would play Brady over Rodgers, so I'll have Rodgers at 12, I think.
Okay.
But as for Brissett, I think he's one of the better streamers out there. Like if you told me you wanted to play him over Minshew, I'd have no issue with that at all.
Okay.
So he's number 14 for me.
Let's go DST really quick. Obviously, play Buffalo, San Francisco, New England, Chicago every week. I think Tennessee belongs in that conversation as well. But then after that, who do you feel confident in? New Orleans against Chicago?
That's one of my favorite streaming plays.
Me too.
We don't know if Trubisky, first off, they have Lattimore to take away Allen Robinson, or to at least limit Allen Robinson. We won't say take away. We'll say limit Allen Robinson. They stopped the run extremely well. So it's like, where is the safe? If they better start targeting
Taylor Gabriel. It's a Taylor Gabriel game, maybe.
Anthony Miller better like get targeted. Like there's going to be no excuse because even PJ Williams, their starting slot cornerback, is out this game. He's not good.
That might be good. That might be good for them.
It might actually be an upgrade to go to Patrick Robinson, but Robinson reportedly looked terrible in camp. So but I do think the Saints are a solid streaming option. The Chiefs, they're not someone that people typically start, but I know they're going.
That's a good one.
They're on the road, and
Denver's a tough place to play.
It is a tough, and that's the part of the reason I'm a little hesitant about saying that. But I think you mentioned the Packers at the beginning, didn't you?
I didn't mention the Packers, but they're number 8 going up against Oakland at home. I think they're going to have to.
As big favorites, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, big favorites. I love that call. I'd rather play them or New Orleans than Jacksonville at Cincinnati with Jalen Ramsey out.
Oh wow! I mean, I still think Jacksonville gets to Andy Dalton. Maybe.
Sure.
I mean, this could be a thing where it's like, I don't know what the relationship was with Ramsey with other players. We didn't hear them comment a lot. It wasn't like a Le'Veon Bell situation, but this could be like a thing where it's like, hey, this is our team now. Like that distraction is gone. Like, let's show people that he was not our team, that he didn't define us. I'm not saying that players don't walk into every game motivated, but it could be a game where it's like, hey, we're playing against Cincinnati. Like, let's eat, because Cincinnati, like, legitimately, not only were they down 3 offensive linemen last week, they were actually down one of the backups. Like, one of the backups got hurt during that game. So when you look at Mixon, the reason that he was just terrible last week, it's because like that offensive line is crumbling. So I'd still play Jacksonville probably over them. Like the Packers, I'd probably play the Packers over them, but it's close.
I think Ramsey really helped their pass rush, right? Because it's a lot easier to get to the quarterback.
Oh yeah, you can let him go in man and just kind of like not worry about it.
A couple others that I'm fond of. These guys are both top 10 in ECR as well. The Chargers at Tennessee, Minnesota at Detroit. And I want to throw in one other team that I like this week. Now they're way down here, just like Kansas City for you is number 16 in ECR. Mine is number 19 in ECR. But the New York Giants, 5 consecutive weeks with 3+ sacks. They go up against Arizona's shoddy offensive line. I like them this week.
Can they get their hands on Kyler Murray? I don't think this is a bad call by any means. Like, they're not a terrible streamer. Like, if you're like looking at the waiver wire, and they're probably a team that's available, because you just see the Giants and you're like, ugh.
Not 97% available tags.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they're a team that's definitely available. So I honestly, the Cardinals might be a better play though.
Arizona against I mean, Arizona's not a bad play.
Yeah. Again, with Peterson back, you never know.
Yeah. All right, tags. That's all for today's show. That was a lot of fun, man. We went a little longer than I expected to go, but always good stuff.
Always a good time, man. Love talking football.
Yeah, sorry that I ditched out on the bet, but well, not really. I mean, I won fair and square.
I'm going to make you pay for that. Don't you worry.
All right, we'll see what happens. I want to say thanks to the sponsor of today's show, HelloFresh. Again, if you guys haven't checked this out, check it out. 1 month. You get $80 off your first month by going to HelloFresh.com/pros80. Enter the promo code pros80. You guys are going to love it. And also, if you want start sit advice, we've got my start sit live stream coming up on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/fantasypros Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time every single week. Tags does a live stream on Sundays as well. I post my sit start rankings on my Twitter at BobbyFantasyPro. Update them every couple of hours. It'll be the top tweet there. I pin it every single time. And then also check out our start sit assistant at fantasypros.com/myplaybook. And you have to be a premium member for that. So also, if you want to become a premium member, it's really easy. Check out fantasypros.com/offers. You can become a premium member for $10. Again, that's fantasypros.com/offers. For Mike Tagliere, I'm Bobby Sylvester. Thanks for watching and listening, and enjoy your football.
Thanks for tuning into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Make sure to check out our featured videos as well. Also, make sure to click that red subscribe button to get notified when we post videos in the future.